It's only right that we got the heart and soul of the Spurs, a drum to beat on. Keldon Johnson, player of the game, helping the Spurs earn a 107-91 victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. Thanks for hanging out with us post-game. This is Spurs Live. That's TJ Ford. I'm Michelle Montaigne. And I guess on Wednesdays we win, TJ, or at least this one we did. It was a 16-point margin of victory for the Spurs on the second night of a back-to-back. Now they're 5-1 on the season in the second game of these back-to-back sets.
Yeah, it was good for us to bounce back. It was against a really good ball club in the Los Angeles Lakers, and we was able to come out and handle business and play for majority of the game and not have too many defensive relapse that we typically fall asleep last few games of, that third quarter drought of not locking down the paint and making it very, very difficult for teams to score.
Energy has been a point of emphasis for head coach Mitch Johnson, and you can count on Keldon Johnson to bring that every single night. He led the Spurs with 27 points and was doing it all night long tonight, TJ.
Yes, he was brilliant from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. He carried us tonight. He showed his leadership of why he's one of the veteran guys and making sure we don't get on a 3-game losing streak. So his force, his energy, his commitment to be able to guard and punish these little guys every time he had an opportunity to get in the paint. And he established himself early in this ball club and led the way for us.
11 of 13 from the field. And head coach Mitch Johnson has said multiple times throughout this season that Keldon Johnson is doing what we haven't seen him do when it comes to contributing to winning in ways that he hasn't done in previous seasons. What do you make of that comment? How have you seen Keldon contribute to winning in ways differently this season than he has in years past?
Well, he's a long tenured guy that we have had here as a Spur. I think he's a guy that understands the culture. He is part of that culture, and he's dedicated to that culture. And he has withstand the ups and downs of this organization being here. And now that he got this thing on track, he is excited to be a part of it and happy to still be here as a Spur. And he should be in conversation of 6 Men of the Year.
It just feels like every single night, no matter what, you can count on Keldon Johnson putting up double-digit points, at least 5 or more rebounds. Like, he does all the dirty work. And he brings this level of reliability that I think at this point in the season you really need out of a guy coming off of the bench.
Well, you got to trust. He also was a guy that had high expectations and a player that was drafted really, really high, and he was able to also transition into a new role as that's coming off the bench. So you got to give him a lot of credit for his career development of being coachable and understanding that he's always put the team first and not himself, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that.
Especially when you have a team full of guys who, can be the face of the organization. Obviously that goes to Victor Wembanyama, but you have a Stephon Castle. You have a guy like De'Aaron Fox. There are a lot of big personalities. So for guys to be able to play their role and contribute, as Mitch said, to winning in ways that Keldon has done has been really fun to watch. I know he's been one of the fans' favorites for a long time. He's in his 7th season here in San Antonio, and he looks good beating that drum. The Spurs with a 16-point win over the Lakers for second in the West. It's only theirs. On a night where the Spurs and the Lakers both had a chance at claiming the second spot in the Western Conference, it was the Spurs who walked out of here with a 16-point win. They earned their 26th win of the season. And here's a look at the Western Conference standings as it is. The Spurs, 13th win at home.
Yeah, that's important. When you look at these standings right here, this game was important to give us a little bit more separation and kind of lock down that second spot for the time being. Now you got Denver right behind, and that pushes the Lakers back. So being in the top 4 this early in the season, if we can maintain this and hold on right here before All-Star break, what a good first half of the season.
Well, and you look at how tight the race is between the second and the 6th spots there. They're only separated by 2 games. We've talked even preseason about how tough the Western Conference is. It has certainly lived up to that. Obviously, Oklahoma City, the reigning champions, have been kind of in a league of their own, even though we've seen them show some weaknesses here in these last couple games. But the West is really competitive. So the fact that the Spurs are, ahead of schedule and are competing night in and night out and winning against the best teams in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, that just goes to show how formidable this team really is.
Of course. When you just look at the West is very, very dominant. You knew that coming into the season. Obviously, when you look at some of the veteran teams having a little hard time times early in the year, and some of the younger version of the teams has been able to exceed like us in the Spurs. So when I look at the West, this is a good sign this early into the season. Now, you still have a long way to go. You want to be able to finish the next couple weeks out because you got some home games and you got some road trips. So you got to stay locked in because the West, as you see, a few games can shift you from the top to the bottom pretty fast.
And, we still have the big man, Victor Wembanyama, coming off of the bench as things stand. The Spurs still finding a way to get it done. Here's some Spur vision on what Wemby was able to do tonight.
Yeah, so when you look here and you look at the Spurs, this is things that I like to be able to see. Keldon is being able to try to use his strength, but they did a good job guarding. He didn't force it. He kicks it out. Now just look at the ball movement. Castle under the basket was able to get a dunk. So that's just moving the basketball and not forcing things. And that was important. Now, when you look at this here clip here, look at all the Spurs getting out in transition, running, passing the ball, dang, like it's a three-man weave, and you able to get a 7'6" guy throwing a lob to De'Aaron Fox, which you rarely see that in this country. So to be able to show that skill set, to be able to get the ball out, get out in transition, and have your center make an alley-hoop, doesn't get any better than that.
The laugh there. 5 different Spurs players finishing in double figures, of course, led by Keldon Johnson. Here he is putting it down. Keldon Johnson was scoring from all over the court tonight. Draining one from deep, helping the Spurs get a 16-point win over the Los Angeles Lakers on home court.
What did you guys maybe do in the second half to get the offense unstuck a little bit?
I think we just continue to double down on the pace. We didn't make a lot of shots, obviously, from the outside. But we talked a lot about that and have talked a lot about that in terms of not allowing that to dictate our body language, attitude, energy, pace. And I thought we did a good job of just staying with it. And we obviously got to the paint quite a bit. And over the totality of the game, that I think lend itself in our advantage of just continuing to play fast and spin bodies and kind of try to dictate the tempo.
27 points in 28 minutes for Keldon. Is it time for him to have a serious discussion for sixth man of the year?
I don't know who else would be in that conversation, but it'd be hard to not be at least in the conversation. I mean, he's as consistent as it gets for us in terms of, his rebounding, his efficiency. He made half of our threes tonight, so that's something. I don't know how many players typically make half their team's threes in a night.
About the other half?
I do. But he's been phenomenal, and he's been consistent, and that's something, unfortunately, out of our control, but we haven't been able to have a lot this year in terms of availability and continuity. And his consistency has allowed us to try to resemble somewhat consistency on the court. And he's been a mainstay, and, yeah, it's every night with that guy.
Speaking of the guy who made the other half of your threes, you talked about rewarding what he gave you last night. How did you feel Jeremy responded to that?
I thought he did a great job. I thought he got a little overzealous, I guess would be the word, just defensively. Doncic is so good at using that against you, but I thought he competed his butt off, did a great job offensively, shot the ones that came to him, and he was in rhythm, made them, and other times he made great plays off the basketball, whether screening or driving in the paint, kicking it out. And again, this is a long season. We're going to need a lot of people at different times, and we have all year, and it's been great to have him be a contributor the last couple games.
You've said in the past that, just going back to Keldon really quick, you've said that he's impacting winning more than he ever has. What in your mind has led to such a big jump in efficiency and consistency and everything with him?
I think in this league, it takes young players, just like young people in life, a while to settle in. And I think he is as comfortable and content in his own skin, in his role, in his organization, on the team, and so on and so forth as anybody in the league. And I think when you have that clarity and that peace, he's just playing hard. And it kind of releases you from pressure, agendas, outside noise, whatever, expectations. I mean, he's just playing the game, and he plays it so dang hard. And he's put the work in, and now you're seeing the benefit and the reward of that work over, years and years and years. And it's really rewarding to be a part of and to see.
The Spurs held just a 5-point advantage at halftime. They finished tonight with a 16-point win over Los Angeles. We kind of talked about this, but we saw them crank up the pace there in the second half and continue to be defensively intense throughout.
Yes, the defensively impact continued to get better as the game went on in the second half, but offensively we was able to just dominate them by continuously getting in the paint. When you look at the point presence of what we was able to do, scoring inside the paint, and then you add 23 free throws with that, that was 89 points of in the paint to the Lakers 91. So it kind of just shows you the emphasis of how we dominated the Lakers tonight.
Yeah, the Spurs had more made free throws than the Lakers even attempted tonight. Now they're going to need to continue that defensive intensity as they go back on the road. They're taking on Boston in yet another back-to-back. It's the first game of a 2-game set between Boston and then Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jaylen Brown, who is playing at an incredible level, possibly an MVP candidate, should be talked about with Jason Tatum being out. He's carrying the load for the Boston Celtics, have him one of the top seeds in the East when a lot of people was counting him out, and he's carrying the torch of showing why he is getting paid the big bucks.
I know Jacob Toby is very excited to go to Boston, but I know he wants to see the Spurs get a win against the Celtics. The Spurs at least got a win here tonight on Wednesday because it's Winning Wednesday. Just ask the guys. It's a 16-point margin of victory for the Spurs to put an end to the Lakers' 3-game win streak. San Antonio back in the win column. Wemby doing it all. KJ doing it all. And the Spurs walk out of here back in the win column. San Antonio beats the Lakers 107-91. For TJ Ford, I'm Michelle Montaigne. Thanks so much for joining us here on Spurs Live. We'll see you in just a couple days. Until then, go Spurs go.